It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. My guest today has had a career spanning more than 6 decades. He's best known for being a founding member and co-owner of the legendary Canadian rock band, The Guess Who. That includes 15 albums that have charted on the Billboard 200, 14 singles that have charted on Billboard's Top 40, 2 going to number 1, 3 gold singles, and 3 gold albums. He's also the only former member of the Guess Who that performed on every single album. I welcome today Garry Peterson. Garry, how are you, sir?
After that, I'm tired.
Yeah, it's a lot. You've done a few
Yeah,
things.
I didn't realize that you have all that information there. I just play show to show, and I think about the next show, not the back,
And
not so much the past. Yeah,
yeah, well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go to the past a little bit, and then we can
no
move
problem.
forward into what's
Yeah.
going on right now, because I don't see, I've done a little, I knew we were going to have this conversation. I've done a little bit of research, and it doesn't look like you're slowing down at all.
Um, you mean traveling wise?
I mean, your music career, living life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so active even now.
Well, this is what I chose to do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is the
Well,
life we've chosen.
or did it choose you?
Well, my dad had a great hand in starting me playing drums because he was a drummer as well. So I when I started playing drums, I had no memory. So
Well,
you could
yeah,
say I really didn't choose it, but later on I could have chosen not to do this, but I love playing music. So I'm a
yeah,
fortunate one of those fortunate people that are doing their life work is something they love to do.
yeah. Well, you've been described when you were just a child. I was reading, they described you as a child prodigy. And I mean, by age 6, you were playing with some very famous people.
Yeah, by the time I was 5 years old, yeah, in 1950, I was doing shows with a lot of like Peggy Lee and the Four Lads, the Ames Brothers, um, and so on.
The
Harry
Andrews
James,
sisters.
the Andrews sisters, yeah, and Lionel Hampton was on that show as well. So yeah, I had the. I guess when I was young, I didn't realize how lucky I was doing all this stuff. I just thought it was part of normal life.
It was just, and it
You
was
know,
fun.
yeah, it really was. I got to meet a lot of great people, and that was kind of a career before my career with the Guess Who.
Right.
Um,
And then around 16, you formed the Guess Who,
well,
but
yes,
it wasn't called the Guess Who.
no, Randy Bachman and I met playing Little League Baseball, and I was already, as you described graciously, a child protege, whatever that means, in Winnipeg. So he knew who I was, not as a baseball player, but as a musician. And we put our first band together in about 1959, and that
Right.
that band went on for a while, and then we both ended up in Al and the Silvertones in the year 1962, which would have 3 of the original members of the band,
Right.
the Guess
Right.
Who, in that band. It would be myself, Randy Bachman, and Jim Cale. And Chad Allen was the singer. That band went on to record a song called Shaken All Over in 1965.
Shaking all over.
Which was released in the United States by Scepter Records from New York City. It had already been number 1 across Canada, and now it went top 20 in the United States. And when they sent that record out to radio, the 45, they put on the record, Guess Who? Question mark. They didn't put Chad Allen and the Expressions on it. And that was
it was a promotion.
Yeah, it was a promotion because at that time, most radio stations were playing the British Invasion. They were playing the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, whatever, the Animals. And I think they thought they wouldn't play a Canadian band. Why would they do that? So they just put Guess Who? Question mark. And that kind of became our name. I mean, after we had a hit with Guess Who? Question mark, are you going to call the band Chad Allen and the Expression?
Right.
Who's going to you're branding Coca-Cola.
Right.
You can't do it.
Right.
So
well, it created that interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of hated the name because we wanted to have a real cool name, like the Animals or the Beatles or something like that. And because the Guess Who was so close to the Who, I always thought this is not very good, but the rest is history now.
It stuck. And Garry, you meant all those bands you mentioned, you guys were right up there with the rest of them. I mean,
well, they were idols of ours. I mean,
yeah.
The Beatles, this band, the Guess Who, really was modeled after the Beatles. There's no doubt about that. If you listen to the eclectic mix of music that we recorded over the 14 or 15 albums, it's like a copy of the Beatles in a way.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was just thinking this morning as I was listening to the Guess Who, No Sugar Tonight came on, New Mother Nature, and that was one of those songs that there was kind of two songs in one, right? And
yeah, I think
the Beatles did that a lot.
Yeah, but at that time, I think Randy had No Sugar Tonight, and Burton had the other part of it, New Mother Nature, and I think at the time, you make a lot of money as a writer of a hit album or a hit record, so they decided to put, so that we wouldn't choose one or the other, they put them both together, so they both got credits for that and writing royalties.
But I can see no sugar tonight in my coffee, no sugar tonight in my tea, no sugar to stand beside me, no sugar to run with me.
So
yeah, and it was a #1 hit.
Yeah, well, it was the flip side of American Woman, which gave the Guess Who its very first and only double-sided #1 record. And I think there's only 3 other entities that ever have done that in pop music. That would be the Beatles, the Stones, and Elvis.
Amazing.
I'm not sure if anybody else, but I, as far as I can recollect, those are the only entities in pop music that had a double-sided charted #1 hit record. I don't mean that we were that great, but it was just an odd thing that happened. And it's an honor to be amongst those names for that one item.
Oh, to me, you're right up there with all of them. How the Guess Who isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet, I don't know. I'm going to have to start a petition.
Well, I think there's been a lot of petitions started. I'm not sure why. In my mind, I know what we accomplished coming from a little place like Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And I know what we didn't. We weren't the Beatles. We weren't the Stones, certainly. But we accomplished a certain amount having come from that small city, which is not a mecca, really, like New York or LA or Chicago or any of those big places. So it was quite a feat having that kind of success coming from there. But if we went, great. If we don't, well, we're still playing our music to people. So that's the most important thing.
Well, and you don't need it to validate,
No,
because
that's really what I'm saying. I mean, our validation is still me still talking to you at this point in 2024.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
and but you're a very humble man. But I mean, you can't take away the fact, you were talking about some of the other bands you were trying to aspire, I guess, to achieve. Like, but in 1970, I had read that the Guess Who sold more records worldwide than any other band in the world.
no, I don't. You know more than I do, so it's possible, I guess. But as I said, why I do this is because of what the music means to the fans. In other words, my whole outlook on this is that a song is written by someone or a group of someone's. Uh, then it's recorded and it sells. The people go out and buy it. They bring it into their homes, to their cars. They listen. It At that point, that song no longer only belongs to the band. It belongs to the fans equally.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what success is in recording.
Yeah. Well, and you've had a lot of hits, and I'd
Mhm.
like to talk about a few specifically. My very first exposure to the Guess Who, I'm a little bit younger than you, but was actually "No Sugar Tonight," New Mother Nature. That was the first time I'd ever heard a song by the Guess Who, and I was probably 12. And what I loved about that song was that, like we talked about earlier, it was kind of two songs in one. But then at the end, it's very clever the way the verses were alternated between the two together.
Mhm.
One verse
Mhm.
from No Sugar Tonight, and then the next verse, and it kind of went back and forth for a while. And I
Yeah,
just loved that.
She's getting us all. She's getting us all. Lonely feelings is yes, and I believe inside of the things I say. Find a corner, got the faith or the guts to leave him when they're standing in each other's way. Silent footsteps out to places you've been to. You wonder what you're gonna find. Sudden darkness, you've been wrong and it won't be long before you leave them all far behind. 'Cause it's new Mother Nature taking over. It's the new splendid lady come to call. It's the new Mother Nature taking over. She's getting us all. She's getting us all.
it's really describing it's really superimposed on top of the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
That caught my attention. So then, then I started looking around more, and of course, like you said, the flip side, which I didn't know until we just talked about it, was American Woman, which was another number one, and it was a huge hit. It's still a huge song, but not that long ago, it was a hit for Lenny Kravitz as well. How did you feel about that?
Well, since I'm one of the writers, I felt really good about that because it's made me more money than I ever thought, would happen from that. Um, but it's one of those things. That song was a jam on stage that grew every time we played it, and then we went in and recorded it. So it was kind of an accident, American Woman. And sometimes the best things in life happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of comes to you. I've heard that often with creative people.
Yeah, it's it's unfortunate. I thought back about it many years, and if that song is a collaboration between everybody in the band, why didn't we go to that well a few more times?
Yeah.
It was the only #1 record we had, I think.
Meaning, when you say that, when you say go to that well more
Why
often,
did?
do you mean writing together as a group?
Yes,
Gotcha.
I meant that. I meant that. Not that the rest of us were such great writers, but obviously some kind of magic happened out of a jam like that. Maybe we could have done more like that. I often think why I mean, chances are we would never have come up with Another American Woman, but you never know if you don't go down that road. So yeah. We never did.
So yeah, that was #1. And No Sugar Tonight, New Mother Nature was a #1 song too on the Hot 100 here in the States.
Yeah, they were both on the same 45.
Yeah, so you consider it one.
Yeah, one was, well, we lost a lot of money there. Think about that.
That's what I was thinking.
Because we gave 2 #1 songs and you only had to pay once for that record.
That's right. That's right.
So,
when I was a kid, we'd go to the store and we'd look to see what the A side was and what the B side was. And every once in a while, it's like, oh, there's 2 here. You know,
well, the Beatles really started, and Elvis really started having double-sided hit records, and so you were getting more value than you imagined from having two great hits on one record. You paid what, $1?
The price went. Yeah. I was going to say 65 cents.
Yeah,
but it was a deal for sure.
Yeah.
And then we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about These Eyes, which was a top 10 hit.
These eyes are crying. These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never gonna see another one like I have. These eyes are crying. These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never gonna see another one like I had with you. These eyes are crying. These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never gonna see another one like I had with you.
Yeah.
And then
Great.
No Time. No Time was a top 5 hit.
On my way to better things, I found myself some ways. Distant roads are calling me. No time for a summer friend. No time for the love you send. Seasons change.
Yeah, but think about it, when we're talking about the band, those are 3 different bags. American Woman is more like a Zeppelin kind of, or AC/DC or something like that. Harder edge song. These Eyes is a ballad,
Right.
and No Time is more like Buffalo Springfield, Crosby, Stills, kind of West Coast pop music. So those are 3 distinctly different styles, but that's really what the band was about. It had we had such diverse influences in music, that comes out in you creating your own music out of what you listen to. I mean, and take a look at Undone. That's an out and out jazz tune.
She's come undone. She didn't know what she was headed for. And when I found what she was headed for, it was too late. She's come undone.
I mean, people mostly listened to the hit records. There's a treasure trove of songs on the albums for people still to discover.
Yeah, and the deep cuts.
and go, what were these guys thinking? This is the band that did these eyes. What are they doing here? What is this?
Right.
And maybe that schizophrenic personality musically was a bit of a deterrent to the band's success or greater success. I don't know.
I
That's
think
for
I think the latter. Yeah.
yeah, that's for history to. But we had so much fun doing some of those songs that no one has ever heard. But I often go back when I'm flying, and I'll go through periods where I listen to the albums in chronological order just to see how the band progressed as a unit with all the changes. I mean, there were a lot of changes. Basically, Burton and I were there for all of it. But also, I like to study how I'm developing as a musician at this point. So I listen to how I play, and some early stuff I can't listen to how I played. It was stupid youth, that thinks they could do anything.
Well, I hope you don't think that about Hand Me Down World, because I was listening to that this morning and I was picking up on it's not a heavy drum beat, but it's really intricate. The little things you do here and there are really make that song. But even though it's in the background, I think that really holds it all together.
Anybody here see the noise, see the fear and commotion? I think we missed it. Anybody here see the love, see the hate, be in motion? Don't give me no hand-me-down shoes. Don't give me no hand-me-down love. Don't give me no hand-me-down world. I got one already.
Well, some people would say that you could get a drum machine to do that now, but that's easy to say after the parts are created. You could get anybody to play, any great musician or any drum machine you can program to play those parts. I mean, so it's the creating of them along with the music that is the uniqueness of a group situation. We have a lot of music today coming out where the singer is the focus, and American Idol did a lot of harm in a lot of ways to put the rest of the band in the background and put the singer out front, period. We come from an era where it was a band collaboration, and even though members of the band didn't write the lyrics or the chord changes, there's, just like the Beatles, there's a certain chemistry there that can never be duplicated if you replace guys with the greatest musicians in the world. It's that group of people that did those records in that moment, in that time, in that space.
Right. The chemistry
And,
that can't.
and even the original guys have trouble recapturing that moment. It's gone
Right.
forever. And that's the way I look at it. I could be totally full of it, but that's always the way I look at it. We are a group situation, and you can't say, well, it's like Elvis had most of his songs written for him by great writers and great studio musicians, so he was the focal point.
Right.
The Guess Who was not that kind of situation. Neither were any of the groups that came from that era, the great British groups and the Beach Boys. And they were all a collaboration of different musicians coming together to create that great music that they did produce.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think maybe because of that band aspect, sometimes there's friction there, and sometimes that friction helps that creative process.
Yeah, of course. Being in a band is not for the faint of heart. Believe me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was listening to your new album. You put a new album out, I think, in last June, And I was listening to some of that, and it's really beautiful stuff. And I would encourage people to go out and look for that album. It's Plain d'Amour.
Plein
And
d'amour, yeah, it means,
yeah,
which means full of love, and that comes in this age that we're in now, the way the world is, the way our people's relationships are now. There was a group of 4 lads from England that once said, all you need is love. We've kind of forgotten that in our dealings with each other, as countries, as people, as whichever way you want to look at it. And this album was kind of a reminder that full of love is a great thing.
yeah.
And that's what that album it's about being full of love, and the love we have for the people that come to see us.
And speaking of that tour schedule, what's going on with you guys as far as where can we find you?
Everywhere but home.
Is there a website people can go to that you want to
Yeah,
send people to try to find out where they can come and see
yeah,
you?
of course. We have a Guess Who Facebook page, and we have our website, and of course the new album, which has 8 cuts on it. And people say, well, why did you only do 8? Well, because it's better for vinyl.
Right. Yeah.
You see, that's our goal, and we put out 8 videos.
I saw that.
Video for every cut. So what I encourage people to do when they're coming to see us, check the album out, check the videos out, because you're going to hear half of that album on stage when you come and see us. So it's better if you kind of ahead of time. It's like having a radio station play your record 5 times a day. You
Right.
can do that. You're doing that yourself now. That's why we
Right.
put out videos, right?
Right.
It's
Well,
a whole. The recording industry is a whole new ballgame today, and we're just learning that,
yeah, figuring it
But
out.
it was kind of fun to be able to do 8 videos. They're kind of crazy, like the Monkeys, and it's just old guys pretending they're young guys.
I love the new album. Headline, for some reason, I kept going back to it and had it on repeat for a little bit. For some reason, that song really resonated with me. But it's good stuff, and I encourage
Well,
everyone to
Headline
go
is
look at
kind of like an homage to Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
After all that I've done for you, what have you done for me? This dusty old review could use a new headline.
Yeah,
Who we
it is.
loved, obviously. And of course, Neil Young is from Winnipeg, where we started. And Neil used to, my brother used to play in a band with Neil Young in Winnipeg. So again, we're influenced by the great music that we love. I mean, the King off that album sounds like the Beatles meets Queen. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Or if you're familiar with the band The Jellyfish, it's
Yeah.
very Jellyfish. That's what people have said about that album. It's the second coming. And we're already working on a new album right now, another one. So,
well, Garry, keep on trucking, man. I really appreciate you coming into Backstage Pass, and I hope I'll keep an eye on what you're doing. And as you put new stuff out, I hope you'll come in and talk to us about the new songs some more. And I've enjoyed this.
anytime, I will talk to you anytime you want to. I love talking about what we're doing, and again, it's really about the people that enjoy the music. It's like we're like doctors of the soul. Let the healing begin.
Maybe I'll be there to shake your hand. Maybe I'll be there to share the land that we giving away when we all live together. I'm talking about together now. Maybe I'll be there to shake your hand. Maybe I'll be there to share the land that we giving away when we all live together. I'm talking about together now.
I love it. Thank you, Garry, so much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.